A scare last night in their dominant win over the East-leading Celtics when Giannis went down in a non-contact injury, which was ruled a left calf strain. Woj reported early this morning that after an MRI, his left Achilles tendon is fully intact, and his return to play will come with how quickly his left calf strain heals. All right, Stephen A., do you think the Bucks should be concerned about this?
Absolutely, without question. First of all, they were checking to make sure there was nothing wrong with the Achilles. And so the fact that the Achilles has come back straight, that's a good thing. But for him to go down the way that he went, this is Giannis we're talking about here. This is a locomotive coming at you and has been doing so for years. We've never seen him do that. And so as a result, it kind of scares you. And then let's remember, albeit it might have been a bit higher, wasn't in the same location as Kevin Durant. Remember, before the Achilles actually tore during the NBA Finals against Toronto when he was a member of the Golden State Warriors, it was actually the calf injury that, that first derailed him. And so it's an indication that potentially something else could be going wrong. That is Giannis Antetokounmpo we're looking at right there. That is not a man that goes down like that. That is not a man that, and then he goes down. Not only does he sit down on his own non-contact, but then when the team rallies around him, he lays back down like, oh my God, because he was concerned. This man works out religiously, takes care of his body. When I ran into him, I spoke to him when they were in Minnesota, when we had the ESPN that night in Minnesota, All Access that day. Giannis and I were together that night. He was like, look, man, I'm in the gym all the time. I woke up the next morning. I'm getting ready to go eat some breakfast. This brother had just finished 2 hours in the gym, and he talked about LeBron, and he talked about Kobe, and he talked about others, and how religiously they went about the business of taking care of their body, and how his number one obligation was to pay attention to his health to make sure he's in peak condition. He does not mess around. And so for him to go down like that, non-contact, for them to be examining to make sure there's no Achilles injury going on, tells you the significance of what he was feeling, how concerned he was, and damn it, if he's concerned, you should be concerned. So I would tell you right now, there's cause for concern with the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, the playoffs are coming up. That's obviously what this is all about. If he says he can go, you play him. But you got to have a raised eyebrow. You need to be incredibly concerned because it's Giannis. He doesn't do stuff like that. That stuff doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen with him. I'm very concerned about it.
I think you have to be. Plus, you got Durant against Toronto when he tore his Achilles, and that because he had the history of the calf thing.
That's right.
So that makes
weeks earlier, and he was out for weeks when he came back.
And then nobody made that connection, and we all know what happened. Oh, here's the pop. You have to worry about playing a game until next weekend.
Okay.
Because next week is the playing games, right? There's no best of sevens.
That's right.
Season ends Sunday. They don't seem to care.
Season ends Sunday. Playing begins Tuesday. Ends Friday. Playoffs begin
Saturday and Sunday. And the Bucks certainly don't seem to care based on their play of where they end up with the seats.
Right.
I mean, they lost to Toronto, Washington. They lost all these teams.
I wouldn't say they don't care. They just haven't been playing well.
Well, I mean, all right, but Steve, I mean, they lost to Memphis. I mean, they really have hit rock bottom. They won last night, I understand. So my point is, he does have 10 or 11 days. Now, if you're going to tell me that this is just a calf, 11 days. Now, last year he was hurt against the Heat and they lost. But 11 days, I'm not a doctor. Isn't that enough time to get himself organized to play in that first playoff game next weekend?
Kevin Durant was out for weeks before he came back.
I know he was.
And when he came back, the very first game he came back.
Second quarter.
The Achilles tore.
Yep.
And he was putting on the show. He was. Let me tell you something right now.
He was playing great.
If Kevin Durant hadn't gotten hurt,
they'd
have swept Toronto.
Oh, absolutely.
They'd have took them out in 4 straight with Kawhi Leonard, okay? But Kevin Durant comes out there, and you remember he's dancing around, shuffling his feet, pregame with the Golden State Warrior teammates at the time, comes out on the court, playing lights out because he's one of the greatest players we've ever seen in NBA history. And then lo and behold, he makes a move, and it happens. It happens. So to me, you saying 10 days means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. It's just a matter of, is it worth the risk? The playoffs are worth the risk of you going out there. This is what you play for. The playoffs are worth the risk to put Antetokounmpo out there, the Greek Freak. If he says he's ready to go, and the medical staff says he's ready to go, and we've done all we can do, and he seems okay. Then, of course, you take your chances. You don't take the chance if there's any kind of trepidation physically, like it doesn't seem right. You don't take that chance.
Doesn't seem like they feel it is, though, because they said the Achilles were fine when they did this MRI.
Well, they said the Achilles was fine.
So from that standpoint, you got to play him.
Yeah, I get you. But remember, with KD, they said the Achilles was fine.
Well, if that's the case, then we'll see Giannis next year. I mean, sometimes you got to take it. You got to. If the doctor says there's nothing wrong with the Achilles,
right,
and he wants to play, you got to play him.
I totally agree with you. If the doctor says there's nothing wrong with the Achilles, if Giannis is saying he's feeling fine, you got to play him.
Play to win the game.
You got to play him. But it's a scary proposition, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's a scary situation.
Very scary. And on the Bucks, they're a mess. We'll get to them later too. They're a mess. The Bucks, a mess.
By the way,
Sacramento has the tiebreaker over Golden State, so they're a game and a half ahead. Steve,
still stuck.
Not one. We just checked it. I had the staff.
Thank you.
If you don't mind.
Who's a game and a half ahead?
Sacramento's got the tiebreaker over the Warriors,
so
it's a game and a half.
But yeah, you can.
So that makes it a little tricky.
By the way, Giannis, 31.2 points per game, fourth in the NBA. Leads the NBA in fast break points in the paints per game, leads the NBA.
He did his homework.
20.9 points. On pace to become the first player in NBA history to average 30 points per game on 60% shooting from the field. Bucks were up by as many as 43 and was up 75-38 at halftime on the Celtics last night. I forgot to mention that halftime. So I don't know what the Celtics. I don't know what
point is you don't want them playing in the second half?
They did. Why?
You're feisty today.
Why not? Steve, he's an athlete. What, are you supposed to not play him? I mean,
I'm saying you got that kind of cushion. I'm just saying. But then again, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that he was pretty well ahead. The game was over. Celtics clearly didn't show up last night. Clearly.
Well, they also didn't play somebody, too. Who didn't? Oh, Porzingis didn't play. Is that correct?
No,
somebody didn't play.
We'll check with research.
That's not new.
All right, let's go.
That's not new.
You're ridiculous. Okay, Stanford's women's basketball head coach Tara Vanderveer announced yesterday she's retiring from coaching. Stanford announced that negotiations are underway for Kate Pay, a former player under Vanderveer and a longtime member of her staff, to become her successor, and that Vanderveer will continue to work with Stanford and the athletic department in an advisory capacity. After 42 years of coaching, she's calling it a career, retiring as the winningest head coach in the history of college basketball. She guided Stanford to 3 national championships, 14 Final Fours, 36 consecutive tournament appearances. She also won an Olympic gold medal coaching the 1996 U.S. women's national team.
Nada pode me impedir. Debandada!
O inimigo foi eliminado.
Você deve seguir.
O inimigo foi eliminado.
Nada pode me impedir.
O inimigo foi eliminado. Um aliado foi eliminado.
Debandada! Debandada! Você deve seguir.
Pancada estilhaçada!
O inimigo foi eliminado.
Nada pode me impedir.
Double kill.
Agora estou enfurecido.